Hello, welcome back. Now we're going to be talking about functions. Now, the most powerful feature in any programming language is the ability to define and use functions, and PHP is one of these programming languages that you can do this. And a function plays a very vital role in programming as it eases the work of programming career. Now, the function have a particular structure in PHP, and the structure goes this way. Okay, let me quickly do a save as. Call these functions .php, and I'll save that. Now I'll change here to functions. Now a function have this format. Now it starts with the name function to tell PHP that you're trying to define a function. Now the next thing that follows is the name of the function. Now the name of a function can be anything starting from an alphabet, and it can be uppercase or lowercase. It's case insensitive. Now what follows is arguments. Let's say arguments. Now we'll talk about what an argument is in a minute. Then followed by the statement that tells the argument what to do. Okay, so now let's say statement. Now this is the general form of how a function looks like, okay, in procedural programming in PHP. Now an argument is, they're more like options or requirements needed for that particular function to work. Okay, and now the statement here tells the argument what to do in order to make that function work. Okay, now let's get into something real and try for ourselves and see how it looks like. Now I'm going to start out with a very simple function here. Let's say function say hello. Let's just say hello. Okay, now in this particular function, we are not going to include any arguments, but we're going to include a statement. Now our statement is going to say echo hello world. Okay, and you have it like that. Now we're going to save this, go to our browser and check it out and see functions.php, and now you discover that nothing is displayed on your browser. Now the reason is because we defined the function, but before it displays on the browser we need to call the function. So we have to call the function, and to call the function is as simple as saying say hello that's all. So now we've called on the function. Now let's refresh that and see what we get. Now you discover that it gives us our hello world, which is in our statement part of our function say hello. Understood? Okay, so now we are going to stop here for now. Look at this very well, see how it works. In our next video we'll get our hands more dirty with doing more complex functions in PHP. See you in the next video. Okay, now we're going to move a step further with functions, and now we're going to look at how we could write arguments in functions. Okay, how we could define functions with arguments included. Now I'm going to continue that from here. Now I'm going to write another function. Let's call that one let's just say hello to. Now let's assign a variable. Let's say the variable is okay word, and the statement should be, now statement is echo hello, and then we'll append the variable hello world. So as anything that the user inputs into this place is being substituted, and you have hello, that thing that is being imputed here. I don't know if you get it, but if you don't, we'll check that out in a minute. So we are going to call on this function since we've defined it. Okay, now we're going to do that by writing say hello to. Now you might be surprised how or why it is being echoed without we calling or writing echo say hello here. Now the reason is because while we were defining the function, we've already used the word echo. So using another echo here is not gonna make that sense, okay? And probably it might echo back an error to you. So when you include an echo in the function, there's no need to including an echo when you want to call on the function. Okay, so we're going to try that, and so we'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. But for now, let's finish up what we're doing here. So now we're going to write a particular variable in place of the variable word. Let's substitute it with something. So now I'm going to say what I want to substitute mine with is everyone. Okay, I need to put that in quotes. Okay, let's get back to what we're doing here. Now I'm going to call on this function. Okay, I'm going to call on this function, say hello to, and we'll impute a word, say everyone, for instance, and let's delimit that. Okay, now let's save that and see what we'll get. You see that? Hello everyone. Okay, so that is how you call on functions when you have arguments while defining the function. Okay, so depending on how many arguments that you define while writing the function, you use the same number of arguments when you are calling on the function. Okay, so now we're going to look at functions with more than one argument in later video, but for now let me try to go back to what I was explaining and let's clarify that. Okay, so I'm going to echo a br tag so that we'll have a finely spaced between the first hello world and the second hello everyone. So I'm going to put a br tag there and refresh that, and you see the hello world and the hello everyone on two separate lines. Okay, so now let's try to echo this and see what we'll get. Now let's echo say hello world. Let's refresh that. You see nothing happens. Okay, so you can echo it, but it's a very bad practice echoing in the function and still echoing while calling on the function. So it's either you echo while defining the function or you echo while calling on the function if there are simple functions like this. Okay, so that is how it works. So in our next video we're going to talk about some other things, but for now there are some few things I would like to tell you about function. Now a function cannot be called twice. Okay, it is not dynamic. It works like a constant. Okay, when you define a function you cannot define it twice. Okay, now let's try to define say hello again and let's see what we're going to get. Now I'll copy that code and paste it right here, and I'm just going to change this to something else. I'm going to change this to something else, or let me change this rather to something else. Let me say having fun. Okay, let me say having fun, then the variable. Just check and see. Then you see a fatal error, cannot declare say hello, PHP line 18 and like that. Now you discover that it actually gave us an error because you cannot define a particular function twice. Okay, it doesn't work like that. And defining a function, you can use an if-else statement while defining a function in the function is still going to work. Okay, but defining a function inside an if-else statement is a very tricky one. Okay, and if you're not good with that, I'll advise that you forget about it and program normally. Call the function outside an if-else statement. Do not include it in an if-else statement, but you can include an if-else statement in the function. I'll catch you in the next video. This video is a continuation from where we left off in our last video, and we're going to get more deeper with the functions in PHP. Now we're going to write another function with 3 arguments, but before we do that, let me quickly do something for us to see. Now I'm going to assign a variable, let's say name, okay, and let's say the name is Thomas Okeysin. Okay, now let's call on the function say hello again, say hello too, and then use the name variable instead of something else, and let's see what we're going to get. Now let me quickly echo a BR tag there, so we'll refresh that now. Okay, now you see hello Thomas. Okay, so now the variable that we assign here is now in charge of the name and is standing for the variable word that we defined in the function. Okay, that makes sense. So now we're going to write another function with 3 variables. Now let's call this function greeting, and we'll put 3 variables there. Now let's say the variable is first and second and third. Let's impute some statements. Now the statement will be to echo, we want it to echo the first word. Now let's do it this way. So I'll save the stress of appending. So I want it to echo first, second, and then third with a capital T. Then we are going to call on the function. Now say greeting. So the first one will be good, the second one will be morning. Now let's leave this at 2 arguments and see what's going to happen. Now we'll go back and refresh. Now you see an error, it's a missing argument 3 for greeting. Okay, now that means the whole argument for the function must be passed into the function while calling on the function. Okay, so that means we need to call on the 3rd argument, Thomas Okeysin, and then I'll close that. Now let's save and refresh, and you discover that our function comes out normal. Okay, now you can call in a variable into a function while calling on the function, but you cannot use a variable assigned in a function outside the function. Okay, now there are 2 different things. The variable outside a function can be used while calling on the function, but the variable used inside the function cannot be used outside the function. We're going to look at that in a later video, but for now there's something else I want us to talk about, and we're going to try that by writing another function, and this will be our last function for this video. So our function name will be addition, and we're going to need 2 variables. We're going to need value 1 and we're going to need value 2. Okay, we'll close that. Our statement will be in this format. Okay, now we're going to use the return function instead of the echo this time, and we're going to return value 1 plus val 2. Close that. Now when we call on the function, say addition, and we impute our arguments, let's say this is 3 and 6. Now let's see what is going to happen. Let's echo a BR tag quickly here. Now let's refresh that and see. Now you discover that nothing comes out. Okay, nothing came out at all in the browser. So what happened now, you might want to ask. Now what we did was, while writing the function, or I defined the function rather, we used the return function, okay, instead of the echo. Now when you use the echo when calling on the function, it echoes out the result in the statement, okay, but here you return the value, okay, you return the result. What the return function does is it gets the value and holds it, but doesn't echo it out to the browser, okay. It holds the result, it does the mathematics, holds the result, and then it keeps it to itself until you ask it to do what? To echo it, okay. So in this case, if we say echo and save that, now let's refresh and see, you're going to get 3 plus 6, okay, even though our argument wasn't done correctly. To do that correctly, you're going to remove this, and then you refresh that and you get 9, okay. So that is what the return function does. Now it gets the value and keeps it until you echo it out to the browser. We'll talk more about that in our next video. Now in our last video we talked about functions. We saw how we can declare functions and call out functions, but there's a very important thing I would like us to know about functions in this video. Okay, now when we're treating our hello world, we echoed the statement in the function, and when we called on the function, it gave us the value of the statement inside the function, like we have here in hello world and hello everyone, okay. But there are some cases that you might want to use the value of a function and do something else without echoing it out. Now that is when the return statement comes in. Now you use the return function inside your declared function and hold the value of the result until it is being echoed out to the browser, okay. So that is what we're trying to talk about, and in this particular area here we tried something like that in our last video, and we saw that it did not display on the browser until we echoed it out. Now the return statement is very important at times. If it decides the true or false of a particular statement in a function, okay. Maybe you declare a function and you can say, if this is true, return this, and if this is false, return this, okay. Now what it does is, if it's true, it returns the function, it holds it, okay, it gets that particular value and holds it until you call it from a particular statement, maybe your echo statement or a print statement, okay. So if you don't call it, the value will remain there unused because the return statement is not going to do anything with it, okay. So now one other important thing about the return statement is the return statement returns only one result at a time in the function, okay. Now if you declare a function with a return statement inside, it returns one result at a time. The return statement cannot give you two results, okay. So now let's try to return two things in a function and see if we get two values or not, okay. So I'm going to copy this here. Let me quickly echo break tag. Let me echo break tag BR there, and I'm going to copy that and paste it again, so I'll have a and then a semicolon there. Now let's copy this function here and paste it here, and let's say this function will be sum diff, okay, sum diff for the sum of these two values and the difference of the two arguments in the function, okay. Now the sum will be value 1 plus value 2, while the diff, let's say variable diff, will be equal to val 1 minus val 2. Let me just copy that. Now val 1 minus val 2. Now we can decide to return sum and return difference. That's diff in our case. Now when we refresh our browser, you see that nothing comes out because we have not echoed that out yet, okay. Now let's go back and try to echo it and see what will happen. Now let's echo sum, let's echo sum diff with two values. Let's echo with 10 and 5, for instance, and our delimiter there. Now let's refresh our browser and see. Now we get the value 15. Now what happened to the return statement in difference? You discover that it did not what echo that, or you did not send that to the echo statement, it only gave one result and did something else or threw the result or the answer of the difference away. Okay, the return statement can only give one result. Okay, it does not give multiple results like the echo statement and the print statement does. Okay, so now if you want the return statement to give you multiple results, there's a way to do that, and that is where our knowledge of arrays come in. Okay, so now let's say we want to echo or want to return two different results. Now we'll say the result is an array of sum and what difference, like that. Then you return result. Okay, now we return result. Now if you want to do this, to call onto the sum or the difference, like in our array, we say you call them based on their position. Okay, their position. The sum have the position of 0 and the difference position of 1. Now let's say we want to echo our result. We're going to echo them separately. Okay, now let's clean this and assign it to a variable. Now let's assign it to a variable, say value is equal to sum diff. Let's say use 10 and 5. Now we want to get the value of the sum of those two arguments inside our function. So now what we'll do is let's say add, that's for addition. Let's concatenate it with the value. So we'll say value and then the array number in the sum case, or in the summation case, that will be 0. Now let's copy that, paste it, and change this one to sub. Okay, and here we'll have 1. Now let's preview that and see what we'll get. Now you discover that our add is 15 and a sub is what, 5. Now that is the importance of array in functions if you want to return more than one result in a function. Okay, now in our next video we'll be talking about how to use a variable in a function outside a function, and that is what we'll talk about global variables, and it's very important in a PHP program. Having seen how we work with return statements in a previous video, we're going to talk about another very important thing in functions called we're going to look at variables actually, and I'm going to be talking about local variables and global variables. Okay, now local variables are those type of variables that are defined within the function and can be used only inside that particular function, but a global variable is a variable that you declare outside the function. Now mind you that any variable declared inside a function can only be used inside the function. You cannot use a variable inside a function outside a function unless you declare it as a global variable. Okay, now I will quickly save this. Let's see what I'm talking about. Let me do a save as. Now I'll call this function 2 and I'll save it, so I will have a nice looking environment. Now I'll use a function. Let me quickly write a function, but before I do that, I'll call on a variable. Now let's say variable foo is equal to I love my pet. Okay, now let's define a function and say our function name is okay, let's just say love, and inside love we have no arguments. Let's just do it like that, and then we have we want to declare a variable in the statement area called foo as well, and set this to this is me. Let's say this is me. Okay, now let's just leave it that way, and let's echo, okay, rather let's echo pet. Let's echo foo and see what we're going to get. So turn to my browser, functions2.php, and you see I love my pet. Now it echoed the variable that is on top outside the function. That is to say, the variable inside the function can only be used to do things that relates to the function. Okay, now this will only be echoed out if you call on this function. Now if we decide to define foo here, that means you can say echo love. The foo here was substituted for the foo here, and what was here was echoed out. Okay, so now if you want this to act as a global variable, you will assign it globally by using the global super global. Okay, you use a super global. It's actually an inbuilt PHP function, so it is being declared like this. You say global, and then you assign the variable to what you want to assign it to. So let's say foo is I hate you. Okay, so now when you call on your variable, let's say we call on foo, we want to echo that out. Okay, let's remove this from here, and let's call on the function first. Now let's call on love, then let's echo foo, and you see I hate you. Okay, so now without you assigning this as a global variable, you cannot use it outside the function like this. Okay, so if you want to use a variable inside a function, outside a function, then you have to assign a global variable, or you have to assign it or change it to a global variable by assigning it globally using the global function. Okay, so that is how it works. In our next video, we'll be looking at default values